All right, so here we are for session 6. We are going to start with some housekeeping and what stayed with you from last week and any discoveries. So I'll be curious to hear from you on that. Then the rest of the time, we're going to spend talking about relationship and influencing themes. So we're going to do kind of like what we did last time. If that works for you, or if you want any adjustments, just let me know. Yeah, let's just start there. Are you guys good with how we covered the themes last time, where I just kind of went through? We'll pick up with relationship building, go through the rest of those. I think there's like maybe 5 more, and then we'll do influencing, and that'll probably fill up our time. I don't see us getting anything beyond that. Does that sound all right? Beautiful. All right. We are aligned. That's way better than being maligned. All right. So yeah, let's just take it from there. Anything that stayed with you from last week? We talked about a lot of things. I have to go all the way back here. What was that? Session 4? No, session 5. Yeah. So we got into the coin model, and then the deeper dive version of it, where we talked about connect only so far. We'll probably talk about observe. We'll probably pick that up once we finish all the 4 themes. I just want to get out all the themes. I want to talk about all 34 of the themes. I feel like you guys have been waiting for that, and we've been building up to it. So we'll do that. But we talked about going from first we talked about emotional intelligence and how this is a doorway into self-awareness. If we use the StrengthsFinder effectively, the results, and then that opens up self-management and social awareness, which then unlocks our ability to better manage our social lives, which is just key for thriving and success in life. So then we talked about, okay, well, if our themes are that, then what are they? They're describing our raw talents, and we want to move them and make them more mature, going from before to after. And that's what the coin model is. Coin model is going from the raw talent to the mature talent. We talked about theme anatomy more. And then we got into connect, and I said different things about the connect phase and went through some of the worksheets that we do, like the mnemonic and all that. Then we got into, like I said, I don't know how far we got. Do you guys remember which one we got up to? Adaptability, connectedness, developer. I'm happy.
I feel like stopped with connectedness.
Good. All right. Thanks, Bo. That feels right too. All right. So we didn't get too far. So all these slides. So that brings us to today, which is where? Yeah, here we are. Brings us to today. So yeah, what stayed with you, or what discoveries have you made about your own themes or other people's, or any connections to the patterns of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, or anything? I'd like to have an open floor, hear from several of you.
This is really what I was looking forward to at the outset of this training. Presley did this for us over the summer, probably early in the summer. We would, when we weren't as busy as we are now, we would take time to do discipleship as a team. And so she helped us dive into our ruts, which is not something that's appealing on the surface when you want to talk about, oh, this is how I will be a point of friction with people outside of myself and within myself, but so beneficial to learn our ruts so that we can work better ourselves and work better with others.
Yep, that's great. Very good. Very good. Yeah, and we'll be getting more into ruts, I think, when we start getting into the next phase. But the stuff you're waiting for, meaning getting into the themes, or yeah.
I like I said, I know that we all wish we would have learned our themes earlier in life. And so when Presley did the deeper dive, like I said, with the ruts, it was something that I hadn't even touched on. I was just happy to be connected with my top 5.
Right.
And at the YMCA, I was happy to have a staff or peers, colleagues that were also connected to their top 5, because then, like we've talked about, language changes culture. We're now talking about these things rather than just a few of us knowing them, because when we can talk about these things, just like I believe Christy Hild shared with the young man, or it may have been Jessica, with the young man who had the competitive talent in 4th grade and realizing that that needs to be dialed down a bit. So beneficial when you're working with a team.
It really is. That's amazing. Yes. Awesome. It really is. I mean, the language does set the culture, and that's why for me, I really distinguish between talents and strengths because it's confusing. It's called StrengthsFinder, and everybody in Gallup world, they do refer to the 34 themes as strengths, but the language is really important because when we understand what the themes are, they are patterns. That's what the language tells us. When you define a talent, they describe it as patterns of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. So thinking of it from that way makes the ruts way more digestible. Because if I think of my rut as like, oh, I'm making people mad, which I have in the past, that, and I still do. But what's way better is to realize, oh, this is my pattern kicking in, and I'm bigger than my patterns. And I can manage my patterns. And then I don't have to worry about if I'm going to upset anybody because I'm taking care of it before it ever gets to be that way. And that's powerful. That makes someone a very powerful person. Everybody else is just beholden to their patterns. I mean, it's a completely different world. You make yourself way more powerful when you realize the degree to which patterns are good. I am not judging patterns. I'm not saying they're bad. They're wonderful. They're energy savers. But what patterns do is they're automatic. That's that's the beautiful thing about it. It frees us up to do more things. We do more things now than ever. Not that it necessarily does us any good, but we're freed up. I can drive my car at 60 miles an hour. I shouldn't, or I should if it's the speed limit. But like while I'm thinking about other things, and then I arrive and I'm like, how did I get here safely? You know what I mean? That's because of patterns. I know the route to get there. If I didn't know the route to get there, I would be invested more in the driving, right? But the pattern, I know how it works. Patterns are good, but they should not be in control. That's my only point. Patterns are good. They should be our servants, not the other way around. And so that's the real lesson here. All right, thanks for bringing that up. Other reflections too from last time, or takeaways. Yeah, Laura.
My daughter came home from college for one night this weekend, and her entire freshman class at her university took the StrengthsFinder test survey. And she didn't understand a whole lot about it. She knew she had a top 5, and she knew that she was supposed to do something with them and research them a little bit. And when she asked me about it, I lit up, and we had this great conversation about her top 5 and my top 5, and my husband and my son were sitting in the room, and they started trying to guess which one of ours ranked number 1 and which one ranked number 5. And then both my husband and my son said, I would really love to take that too. So we had a great family discussion about our themes. We had a great family discussion about how sometimes our themes can be the ruts, and talked about and reflected some times in our family where we might not all agree on things, and how those themes sort of led us to each have a different take on the situation, and how they played right into that conversation. So it was a really neat family discussion we had, and I was so excited to hear that the whole entire freshman class of her university is diving into that. So, they're 18, 19 years old, but at least they're getting it before they're 50.
Yes, it's beautiful. And what you're describing is the entire reason I got into this, like what made me want to develop this curriculum is that so many people take the StrengthsFinder and don't even know what the information is or what to do with it. And one of the problems is because the people who teach it, don't get me wrong, for the first 2 years or so after I took StrengthsFinder, I was calling them my strengths. So I was there too, I was doing it too. But as I was reading more on my own and getting into Don Clifton, I like to go to the source a lot of the time. So I went to Don Clifton, and I'm like, wait a minute, there's a disconnect between the way everybody I know who's talking about it, and we all love it, all those people, and I too, I loved it just as it was, even though it was presented incompletely. But it was when but there was always something off about trying to explain what are these and how are they strengths and how. And so when we realize that they're not strengths, they're themes, and then their relationship two strengths, that themes are part of a formula. They're the pattern part of the formula. Then do you remember the other two parts of the formula? I want to quiz you. I don't want to be didactic, but I want to at least get you to realize there's three parts to the formula for what Gallup calls a strength. One is the use of talents. Do you remember the other two?
Is it kind of quantifying the time you spend either refining it, practicing it, or learning it?
It's no, I mean, it might, but there's really two words I'm looking for. The formula is that your strength, it equals talent times knowledge plus skill. So themes of talent, those top fives, they are one tool to produce a strength. And what is a strength? Do you remember that strength is a level of performance? Gallup doesn't explain it that well. They define it. They say a strength is it's a level of performance. They say it's consistent, near perfect performance in a given activity. Consistent, near perfect performance. This is Gallup's definition of a strength. See, it's a level of performance in an activity. The 34 themes are over here. They are not the activity Don Clifton was talking about. The activity Don Clifton was talking about was fill in the blank. Being a teacher, teaching, giving a speech, cooking a meal, coaching a team. These are all activities, even small ones, little ones that are hard to identify. Like Heather, my teammate here, has a strength of identifying patterns and harnessing them productively to help people grow. There's no strength for that you can just name. You have to discover it. They hide in plain sight. That's what it says behind me. Your strengths hide in plain sight. That's what Don Clifton was trying to say, and it sounds like a good pithy statement, but he meant it deeply, deeply the way I'm describing it. You can't see strengths, but knowing your talents will help point them out. Because wherever you have a strength, look at the formula. You can't have a strength. You can't have consistent and near perfect performance if you haven't harnessed your patterns. So use your patterns to help you find it. And they don't explain that. And it makes all the difference. It makes a lot of difference. I can go into ways about how, but that you were able to now do that with your family and have the discussion and guide, them. That's where the real value is. It's not enough to just go, StrengthsFinder is the 34 themes, have a good day. But that's what everybody's doing. I mean, I don't mean to dismiss it. I was doing that too. But they don't know what else to do with it, because the minute you say strengths or the top 5 themes are strengths, you're done. Oh, okay, I have consistent near perfect performance. But that's not what it's saying at all. Your themes are not consistent and near perfect. Your themes are patterns. They're consistent patterns, but they may be a match for some situations or a mismatch in others. No one ever taught us that. Anyway, I get a little excited, but that's my passion around this for sure. All right, good. Any other feedback or insights from last time? All right, we'll get into it. I want to see how you did on the worksheets. So if you did them, yeah, I wanted to see, did you do the enablers? Did you identify and how was your experience with that? Any reactions to that one, or anybody do that? Is it a helpful exercise to do, the enablers?
I did do it, and I discovered that my number 2 and my number 3 are things that in my new, well, not new, but in my work with being a coach, like an instructional coach or a SEL coach, that my strength 2 and 3, those are when I need to interrupt and nuance, because as a maximizer and a developer, it's sometimes like, I want to just make that process go. But when you're coaching somebody, you're taking yourself out of the equation so they can discover that and be empowered. And so it takes a lot of self-awareness and self-control to not give what I think the answer should be, or try to jump ahead and allow it to be slow. So, others, specifically students, can feel that empowerment, because believing that, everyone's made holy and perfect in themselves. So
this is a great follow-up to what I was just saying. It's perfect, because coaching, the kind of coaching you're doing, let's call that the activity, right? And then I would ask, at what level are you performing that activity? So I have too many slides. I'm trying to find the ladder. You'll recognize when you see it. So let's say the activity of coaching, and I don't want to put you on the spot, too much, but like this is how I use the tool is I would say, all right, what in the activity of coaching, or look at any of the other coaches, if you're going to develop other coaches, what you want to do is you first want to name the activity. That to me is the first step of the process. If I know what activity we're trying to improve, then that's where we start a strengths conversation. Because remember, Gallup defines it as a level of performance in a given activity. So if we don't know what activity we're talking about, we need to stop until we do. What's the activity you want your children to perform better, you want to talk about, or your spouse or yourself? Until you know the activity, you can't improve your performance of the activity. And that's what, I'm sorry, I'm being lazy. I'm writing with my mouse instead of my thing. All right. So, and there's a reason why. So basically, strength is a level of performance in an activity. Does that make sense? And if we perform the activity well, then we get the outcomes. Okay, that's what we want, is the outcomes. Because outcomes, if we have the right outcomes, then they match our purpose, then we thrive. And that to me is the point. We strive to thrive. Thrive is always changing, and we need to. It's a balance. I mean, it's a continual thing to thrive. But that's what we're trying to do. And the only alternative, there's only one only alternative, and that is survive. And of course, I want that, but I'd rather not just survive. I want to thrive as much as I can. As much as I can is the important part. So in order to, we have to perform the activities in our life to get those outcomes that lead to thriving, right? That's the whole point. So once we know the activity, then we apply the formula. We go, all right, for that activity, how do I apply my themes of talent to that activity? I'm sorry about the handwriting. This thing is so laggy. There's a setting I must have changed or whatever, but the themes are the first thing. Then the next thing is apply knowledge. And StrengthsFinder doesn't talk about that, and it's not, and it shouldn't, because it's not about knowledge of anything other than the activity. But unless we know what activity we're doing, sorry, this is just killing me to write it. All right, knowledge, and then 4 is skills. So what are the skills of performing the activity? Which to me, skills equal steps. This is the strength formula. I just wrote it out. This is the sequence. What's the activity we need to perform to get the outcomes? Great. How do I apply my top 5 themes of talent to it? And if I do, my performance will go up. And then if I grow my knowledge related to the activity, see, strengths coaching is more than just themes. And you wouldn't know that if you think themes are strengths. If you think themes are strengths, you wouldn't talk about knowledge and skills. You're done. But a strength is not just themes. A strength is themes, knowledge, and skills. And skills are the steps of the activity. And Gallup can't help us with that either. They know that. Until we know the activity, we can't break it down into the steps. So when we're coaching using this tool, it's not just going over their themes and going, these are your strengths, let me explain them to you. It's like, no, what are the activities in the life you need to perform to get the outcomes? And then let's apply your themes to that better, because you might be using your themes wrongly toward that activity. Let's look at it. Let's talk about it. What knowledge related to the activity? Heather and I were talking this morning about bowling and how I loved bowling. And one of the things was I read everything I could about bowling, the history of bowling, what kind of oil is used on the lanes and the different materials of bowling balls. This is when I'm a kid. I was never excited about learning until bowling and bowling league in the 5th grade, and I was a self-taught, I was a self-learner. And as I applied that knowledge, it helped me get better at the activity of bowling. I moved up the ladder. I literally started as an absolute beginner. I didn't bowl. I never did. I thought it might've been, I didn't know if it'd be fun or not. But when I went as a kid, I loved it. And And then I moved up the ladder. And you can look in your own life and see exactly the same thing. Some activities you got good at because you invested yourself and you were using your themes of talent, you were growing your knowledge, and you were learning the steps of the activity. Bowling is a series of steps, literally. You either most people have a 4-step or a 5-step approach. Some have a 3. One guy even had a 1-step approach. So whatever, that's step 1, but it's the steps, and then it's the arm swing, and it's the release. And you have to get better at each of those steps. And every activity is, can you guys think of activities for you that you moved up the ladder? What have you been geeky about? You put yourself into, you studied or whatever, and you just got better at it. Riding an electric unicycle was one for me. Yeah, go.
I would say fitness. Probably about 10 years ago, I didn't know as much about my health as I do now. I have certified through ACE as a personal trainer and a health coach. So like what Jessica was saying, you know, taking yourself out of the equation when it comes to partnering with people and letting them find their inner strength versus, no, this is what you're good at. I have a really good feeling this is what you're good at. So yeah.
That's great. I think that's really good. So yeah, as I look at your developer and your belief, so let's take the activity of being a fitness coach. You know, first of all, when you went through your certifications, that was the knowledge piece of the strength formula. That was the knowledge piece. The skills piece would be, what are the steps of being a coach? Is there an intake process? Is there a, you know, all of that, right? Like, and then have you applied your talents to the activity? So let's look. Do you use your developer when you're doing fitness coaching, right? And maybe you're using it well, and maybe there's ways you could use it better. Maybe you want your people to develop more than they do, because that happens with developer. Sometimes with developers, not saying you, because I don't know, but I know developers that when they're trying to develop you, it feels like they're criticizing you. It feels like you're incomplete, you're not good enough. And they're not trying to send you that message at all, but they want you to be your full potential. Anyway, your beliefs, do you have certain beliefs around health, around these kinds of things that you're able to leverage, a passion around, or other beliefs that you're able to leverage?
More of just you can't make them work. You can't make them take a class, but what you can do is, you know, lead them and, you know, let them believe or make them believe in a way that they can do anything they set their mind to. The physical is the next part. It all starts in the head.
Yeah.
And once you believe you can do it, I feel like that's, I don't know, it's just something I strongly believe in.
I think that's beautiful. So you have this belief that it starts in your head. It starts with your mindset or whatever. And so that's going to affect your performance as a coach, because if other coaches don't realize how important mindset is, they may not engage their client. But you working on their mindset from the very beginning is something your belief, you know, fuels. So I mean, you see, as we go through these, I go through each one, and your empathy, does that play a role in your training? Right? Yeah. I see, right? Yeah. Do you feel a responsibility to your client? I bet you really do. With belief and responsibility combined, you're going to give them full value.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe that. I believe you'd be a great trainer as I'm looking at this. How far are you from Tulsa? No, just kidding. And then that relator, does that come in a good way? Or like for each of these, it could be helpful or harmful. What are the ways your relator could be helpful, or the ways your relator might be harmful?
Well, and the relator and the empathy kind of clash sometimes, because you have to keep it a professional setting. And you do get close to these participants, like some of them are more like family members now and friends, but you still have to have that boundary. And so that's where my empathy and relator kind of, you know, in a negative way, like, you know, when participants pass away or when participants don't, you know, continue coming, that affects. And then my responsibility talent really kicks in, because I am liable. I am liable, you know, if I do an unsafe practice. And then also the empathy and relator kick in, because, not only am I just blowing the whistle and telling them, hey, do this, I am actually, so cycling, for example, I am on the bike with my participants. I'm feeling the same thing they're feeling. And when we do certain drills or go a certain speed, I'm feeling that with them. So I can coach them to stay in the moment, stay focused, keep believing in yourself.
That's amazing. You exercise with your clients. I mean, just that alone, you probably like you could do nothing else and that would alone be effective for them. That would get them to their goals. But you do all these other things, and I hear the values coming out, like safety. Like for people with belief, that's the development of going from raw to mature is. If you don't know what your beliefs are, then you'll be, anytime your belief gets triggered, you're not going to know why. You're gonna react. But if you know your beliefs, you can communicate them up front. You can tell people, right? You can help bring the belief into beings, which is what a person with belief wants anyway. They want to bring. So, I mean, but it's true with all the themes. The better we use our themes, the more they help us with the activity. That's what the maturity process is about. The more we shape and sculpt our themes, the more we master our patterns, the better that ingredient is. That's why I use the metaphor of strength is a cake. This is strength cake. And it's very important. Strength is a cake and you need ingredients. And the better the ingredients, the better the cake. Am I right? Am I right? So what we're talking about when we talk about maturing our themes or the coin model, it's simply going from raw talent to mature talent, because the better, it's making these eggs better. It's going from commercial eggs to free range, fast, grass-fed, whatever, manicured chicken claws, whatever, pampered chickens, the best ingredients. Knowledge, the best knowledge is the best flour, and the best cultivation of the steps is the best sugar, and that will lead to a better cake. Now, let me ask you a question, cake lovers. Do eggs equal cake? Are eggs and cake the same? No. Talents and strengths are not the same either, in the same exact way. Eggs are not a cake. The ingredient is not the cake. The combination of the ingredients plus the activity of baking them, that's the cake. Strength is more than just taking the strengths finder and then they tell you these things and then these are your strengths. No, they're your talents. It's extremely valuable. It may be even more valuable. I think strength, I don't know, I have to think about that. But knowing our talents, knowing our dominant patterns, given the role that I've come to believe that patterns of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors play in our life, I think knowing our talents is on its own is more important, but they are different. Knowing our talents is not the same as knowing our strengths. Knowing our talents will lead us to knowing our strengths. And there's the whole knowledge piece we don't even talk about in StrengthsFinder, and the whole skill or steps piece we don't talk about. And that, so I'll wrap this up, but the whole thing is the way most people are taught is just that the StrengthsFinder results are their strengths. They don't even talk about the formula. They don't even talk about the formula because if the trainers did, it wouldn't make any sense. That's why I couldn't use the formula. I'm like, how do I tell people that their top 5 things are both their talents and their strength? That formula makes no sense. The equals, I didn't get much further than algebra 2, but but I know that what that equal signs means. All right. Any reactions to that? I'm not going to talk about the other worksheet unless anybody has a quick comment on like, their experience of looking at their themes through each of the 4 domains, that each of your themes is an executing theme. It is a relationship building theme. It is a thinking theme, and it is a whatever the 4th one is. I always forget the one I didn't say. But every theme fits in all 4 categories, and that's another correction I made. All right. Anybody have any reflections on doing that worksheet? I'll put it up for you so you can see what I'm talking about. And then we'll get into the relationship building themes. Any reactions to that one? Did it make sense? Or even if you hadn't, yeah, go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, it makes sense. This is what I was talking about and Presley, I'm going to share, hopefully this is okay and she doesn't punch me when we're in the same room, but Presley shared when we did this deeper dive that her responsibility theme causes her to be offended or even upset when someone doesn't come through with what they say they're going to do. If you sit around with your colleagues and you share things like that and you're vulnerable, it really helps them to realize what the expectations are and how when those expectations aren't met, that it can lead to friction, which is what we don't want. That's not thriving. So that's why I love this.
That's beautiful. Nice. That's a great use of that. It's perfect. And just to know that, like, I walked around expecting everybody to strategize the way I strategize. And one of the first things that Gallup says when they describe the strategic theme is that you can't learn it. You either get it, either you developed it or you didn't. You can't teach it or learn it. So, but here I am expecting everybody to think the way I think, and they don't. So I was always misunderstood, because strategic is always like, all right, quick computation, let's do this. And everybody else is like, I don't want to do this, I want to do that. And I'm like, no, but like you want to do this, trust me. And it's so difficult. And learning, and unless I know I have that quality and others don't as much, how do I manage that? So, and the same is true for all the themes. Where you have high themes, high talent, you have high standards. And that means where you have high standards, it means a lot of other people will fall short of those standards, and there will be a perpetual disappointment. That's just one little thing I got out of taking the StrengthsFinder and thinking about it in this right way. And that's what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the right thinking on this. So that's great, Bo, thanks for that. And I'm going to jump into the themes because we really have to, time-wise. So I'm going to do that. What I did is I just went into this document generator. I don't know if any of you have seen the document generator yet, but you can make profiles. And in order to talk about the themes, I just made a profile for relationship A. And these are the first 5. There's 9 relationship building themes. So this is relationship A. And then this is relationship B, the next 4. And then I went back to adaptability. So I don't know if that makes sense, but I wanted to get all of them on here so you could see it that way as we talk about it. Because I talked about the adaptability theme before. Oops, wrong way. I can come back to it, but otherwise I'll go into connectedness. Does that sound good? How far did I get? Did I actually talk about connectedness much? Did I talk? Okay, good. All right, then let's go to developer. Did we talk about this one? All right. So the image right there, this is what I'm working with. This is how I see them being. So when a developer sees me and I feel criticized, and not all developers and not all the time, but if it happens, it's because I didn't realize they were seeing this. They saw my potential. So that's the first thing, sees the potential in others and encourages them toward that potential. Has a genuine interest in seeing others succeed. It's very true. It's like sometimes they're very committed. And I might have mentioned to you, I don't know, I bring this story up once in a while, but a friend I know who's a psychiatrist, he said that a lot of times with his patients, he's doing all the work. And so one of the things he'll have to do in therapy, and maybe Ashley, you might have this with the client sometimes, is like, why am I doing more? Why does it feel like I'm doing more of the work here than you are for the thing that's supposed to be benefiting you? And developers could do that. They're like, oh, I might even carry you across the finish line if it's not, mature, or if your responsibility thing kicks in. You feel responsible for their development more than they do even. So that can happen with developer. Any comments or thoughts on any of that?
I will just say, so Cheryl has that talent. And for me, like, she has been just amazing in my life, just has made pretty big impact on the way that I've seen myself. She introduced me to the talents to strengths assessment and everything. But yeah, she has always seen my potential and helped me see that in myself. And then she pushes me to step outside my comfort zone, which helps me grow. So yes, I love the developer talent, and I just appreciate that about Cheryl and wanted to share.
It's a really generous talent, honestly. It is one that is very other oriented, and to the degree that most people won't understand it if they don't have it very high. Ashley?
I was just gonna say, what's awesome about, hopefully presenting this to others is getting them to understand that people with a development talent, that we really just have your best interest at heart. Like, some people, like, when they feel criticized, they're like, you just don't want me to thrive. You don't want me to do my best.
Right.
And even if they don't say that, they think, and it's like, no, truly, I see what you're capable of, and I want to help you. Please let me help you.
Another great example of if we know our themes and we know ourselves, you could explain that to somebody right off the top. And I'm able to now explain my strategic theme and how I work more, or not even explain it. I just know that my job is to explain my trail of breadcrumbs for how I got there. It's very slow, you know, and I want to get to the idea. It's strategic is fast, and describing all of that is slow, the computations that go into it. And I can see that being with developer too. Really, really cool, really cool. I love that. I love these examples that you're sharing. All right, wrong thing. I'm speaking of sharing. Let me go back into our top fives. Good. So looks for ways to challenge people and help them grow. I use the term micro struggles here. Something very that a good developer knows how to do is you don't give someone too big of a stretch goal. You don't give them too small of a stretch goal. How do we find the right stretch goal? Because micro struggle is how we grow. Struggle is the agent of growth. None of us have ever grown in any area without struggle. Weigh that statement. It's an interesting one. Developers energized by others' improvement. That's like hard to understand too. Like you're energized by how does my improvement affect you? Actually, if anybody has a thought on that, I'd love to hear. And it notices the signs of progress, even in small increments. Look at, you went from here to here, and that could be encouraging to remind people, because a lot of times people can't see their own progress.
I think it does impact that we feel happy when other people are doing well, because it's the relationship realm. And then like having empathy also, those feed each other, because when I feel people's energy or I feel what they feel, when they feel good, I feel good.
Yep.
So they all interact together. And personally, it's been helpful to know that people can view developers as being critical, because I'll hear that from my kids, like, oh, it's never good enough. I'm never what you, I mean, like, and I'm like, where are they getting that from me? Again, positivity, like I'm not doing that. So this is really helping me. And I like having the language to say to them, it's not meant to be overcritical. It's just, I see your potential.
Yes.
So that's really helpful. Thank you.
It's extremely helpful so that you can be seen and not falsely accused, because it's a false accusation to say that, you know, you're being critical of them. It's the opposite, but that's a rut that the developer can fall into. And what I mean by rut is just in the course of running the pattern, you got stuck. If you Google the word rut and then you do like images, you'll see people like wagon wheels stuck in mud, you know, stuck in a rut. If you Google it, Heather, are you doing that? Okay, Heather's not doing that. Heather's saying, Adam, if my developer is saying you got to move on and stop talking. I can see,
Don't get my wagon wheel stuck, Adam.
I know, right? Exactly.
Real quick, I wanted to plug for the fitness people, because you were talking about micro struggles. Well, the fitness folks all know the way that we build muscle is through micro tears in the muscle. And so I have connectedness #1. So I had to throw that out there. Thank you for indulging me.
Yeah, no, right on. Wonderful, right on point. And so let's go to empathy. So I love the image here. I love turning inward, but yet picking up others, you know, because their eyes are closed, you know, because that's where empathy comes from. It comes, I don't know, I'm just saying this as I'm just thinking as I'm saying it. Empathy does come from inside. So everybody is empathetic, right? So like you can't dismiss this theme just because we use the term empathy in common day-to-day language, but it really describes what it is. So people with empathy theme, it's a next level kind of empathy. It's just an intuitive sense. It's spooky. This is spooky, this one to me, because how is it that somebody can know my emotions? Like I didn't tell them, you know, but that you just sense it. I believe people with empathy grew up in homes where it became an advantage to know someone's mood, like a parent's mood before they came home, things like that. Like, or just a fascination with other feelings. All right, sees the world through other people's eyes. and then shares their perspective or can tap into it. And understands even when they don't agree. I can understand how you got there. I do, but I don't like it. It's not good. My other themes don't like it. All right. Anticipates needs of others. Because you know that if a feeling kicks in, you know that what comes with a feeling. It's not just a feeling. I drew a diagram. I showed you feelings are connected to thoughts and behaviors. It's a cluster. It's a TFB. It's not a feeling. Feeling is one element. It's like the neutron, and then the proton and the electron are the whatever. I'm ideating. Anticipates the needs of others and helps people express themselves. That's one that Gallup didn't say, but I pulled it out of it because it was a natural extension in my experience of people with empathy is they help them express. And then Gallup agreed because they approved that sentence. All right, any reactions to that one? Empathy. Do we have empathy people in this room? So any of that resonate? Ashley has it too. Yeah. All right. So I'll move on to harmony. Or did anybody have their hand up? I was not looking at the screen. Are we good? All right. So harmony. Who couldn't like this person over here? Sitting on a cloud, holding a yin and yang, just music in the background, floating on a cloud, riding around like that. It's like riding an electric unicycle, but keeps peace and resolves disputes. Looks for areas of agreement and finds common ground, believes little can be gained from conflict or friction. So their knee-jerk reaction might be to move away from it as a raw harmony. A mature harmony knows you have to go through conflict to get to the alignment. If you don't really talk about it, then you can't really find the harmony. Harmony, there's artificial harmony, and then there's authentic harmony. And they can modify their own objectives to merge with others' point of view. There's an adaptability to it. They want to synchronize with others. That might be a way to say it. And they prefer practical matters over debate. We don't need to get into moods and stuff like that. Let's just try to resolve the practical stuff. All right. Any reactions to the harmony theme? I don't know that anybody has it necessarily in their top 5. Yeah, Jennifer Taylor has it. All right. I'm going to move on to the other ones then. Keep going. All right. Includer, my number 34. Oh man, and it's affected my life having included number 34. I mean, honestly, I don't include people. I don't think to. I don't exclude them. I just don't think to include them, and I miss out on a lot. But you can see the way we're portraying that everybody's welcome, and we're hanging around the fire, and that is it. Make everybody's welcome. I'm picky about my company. That's one of the reasons. But includers are not, because it's more important that everybody feels included and welcome. That's what there's about. Makes others feel welcome, and they're naturally accepting. They sense when people disengage from the group. They want to hear from everybody. They know exactly who in the group hasn't spoken up. They always know. They generate cohesion in teams. They're great hosts. It's not on here, but they're very good hosts, making people feel welcome. Hates when someone is on the outside looking in. They hate it. So their behaviors will address it. They will introduce themselves or welcome people in. And they're not judgmental. And they don't like to be around groups that are judgmental or exclusive. Anybody here have includer? Yeah, Carrie has it as her number 2. Jessica, number 4.
I love includer because I also like to make s'mores with woodland animals. No, I had to laugh because, yeah, I've always despised cliques, basically. And I always took great pride in high school that I was never in one. But and even the way I dress, like people have said, like, oh, you're such a chameleon. Like this day you might be all like bohemian hippie, but then it's like hard rocker. Like I just don't want to, exclude, and I don't like the idea of cliques. And I laughed the other day with having this really on high awareness because my includer and my positivity, this is really scary, but even when I pass a hitchhiker, I sometimes consider like, I think I should pick them up. I won't ever, Bo, don't worry, I never ever will. But in my head, I'm like, that looks like a really nice person. And I hate it.
Right. And so I know exactly what you're saying because Heather's done that. Yeah, she has all kinds of woodland animals. I'm one of them. She collects friends who are all sorts of wonky weird. All right, but yeah, but this is why it's so low on my list, because of the risk of includer, you know, right? I see it as risky. And anyway, there's a lot more to say. But it's a wonderful theme, but it's complicated. Yeah. Have you ever had it where sometimes people misread your inclusion, like you're trying to include them and they're taking it a little differently? I've always been worried about that too. So like, let them suffer alone. I don't want them glomming onto me. I know that's terrible, but anyway. But this is why there's 34 themes. And my number 33 and 32 are positivity and harmony. And it matters. It matters that those three are there. It's shaped my life. And I'm not like bragging. In fact, it's the opposite. I can see how I can see how it's hindered me. All right. I'm going to keep going. Anybody else want to say anything? No, we can't. I got to keep going. All right. Individualization, my number 2. Anybody else have this one? It's the one with the most letters. I do know that because every time I'm making materials, it's the one I got to fit in. And if I can fit in the word individualization, I can fit in every other word. I know that's kind of a weird perspective, but it's my number 2 and it explains so much. I know people usually better than they know me. My family doesn't know it. They do not know me at all. They have no idea, but I know them very well. It's about the individual qualities. I've always been interested. Dinosaurs and Tonka trucks and professional wrestlers. I knew their special moves. I knew the different features of the dinosaurs. I love the different types of Tonka trucks because this one can do this and this one can do that. And, you know, all that stuff. As a kid, I was just always fascinated with unique qualities. So that was just always there. And yeah, so doing things in groups, it's kind of like includer in that I don't like to judge people. I find no value in labels of like, oh, all these people are like this or that. No, it's everybody is unique, everybody. And that can be a problem too. It's just, I want to see other people's uniquenesses, you know, and sometimes I get a little too invasive with my questions and stuff like that. But focusing on individual differences and observing each people and their style and their motivation, I pick up on things like that. Customizing solutions on a case-by-case basis. I never do one PowerPoint for all clients. Everything is customizable. It's not good. It's not efficient. I know, right? Right? But it's just, this is the power of patterns. And that's a mismatch. That's an example of my individualization getting mismatched. Constantly customizing, and then building productive teams. They're good at this. They're good at seeing the unique qualities, whether they be themes or actually strengths or actually other qualities. It's about putting together teams and yeah. So anyway, that's individualization, and you can see how it's a tailor. You know, it's kind of a cool image. Any thoughts or reactions to that before I go move on? And you think about the pairings, like individualization with developer, right? Individualization with includer. Positivity, individualization with positivity, really seeing the best in people, really enjoying those things. So let's go to positivity. And I want to tell you the story of this image because the first way we drew it was that inside her thought bubble with the trees, it was actually a sun, and the sun was beaming brightly. But that's not positivity. Positivity is not to go, it's raining. No, it's really sunny underneath the rain or whatever. You know, it's to go with, no, it is raining. That is the reality. But the reality of rain is that it leads to growth. And that's the story we're trying to tell inside this thought bubble. It'd be delusion to say, oh, it's not raining, it's sunny, you know, and positivity could get to the level where it keeps at bay anything that's unpleasant. But actually, the truth of positivity is that it's meant to find the positive in anything, even if it is unpleasant. That's the more mature version. It's not positive. I don't like it. See, because with me, positivity being so low, I've often been assailed by people with positivity. You know, oh, you're so negative, Adam. And I'm not negative. I try to be more realistic, but because it's realistic and they don't like it, it's like, so I want to see, Heather, that if us, but let me finish this thought. So when I say, I'm just trying to be realistic, and they're like, that's negative. And I'm like, no, actually, your reading of what I said being negative, that's what's negative. You can't see the positivity in what I said, even though I'm painting a picture of reality. And so it's like, people talk about toxic positivity. I've heard that phrase now. It's like, how could that be? Or even among StrengthsFinder coaches, there's conversations like, has anybody noticed where somebody with positivity is like the most negative person in the group? Because I've seen that happen several times. Anyway, so I'll leave it there. But Heather, you want to talk about positivity is very stoic, or any thoughts about positivity?
Not necessarily. I was just pointing that out, that like, being grounded, like the image itself, like, yes, it's raining,
yes.
but the rain brings the trees.
That's
So
right.
it's a very stoic way.
Of mature positivity.
Right.
Yeah,
But what you're talking about is positivity in a rut.
yes, that is what I'm talking about. Positivity in a rut is it cannot tolerate anything that doesn't match that vision they have of what positivity is. And I'll never meet someone's standard for positivity because it's way down in the basement for me. All right, I'm going to move on, but pretty good. Positivity. All right. Relator. This one's tricky because everybody can relate. Everybody can build relationships. And the word is kind of like, it might convey something that it might convey a little bit more warmth, a little more universal warmth than what's there. I see relator kind of the way I see the at the airports where they have those special clubs. If you're a member and you can go and get away from the riffraff, and you go and, oh, clean bathrooms, and, oh, comfortable seating, and, oh, peanuts in a dish, or a fountain machine. You know what I mean? I view relator that way. It's exclusive, but there's a lot of benefits. But not anybody can go in. That's the thing about relator. And it's the opposite of includer. Now, sometimes people can have relator and includer, absolutely. But, relator is on a different vibe. Relator is on the vibe that relationships are extensions of me. The people that I'm so intimate with my people that I know everything that's going on with them. I'm invested, and what happens to them is happening to me. And I can't do that with everybody. I can only do that I can only invest so much, and I have to, and so they invest deeply, but not widely, unless there's other themes that balance that out. So relators are actually very picky about who they're with. It's like the circle of trust. What's that movie, Meet the Parents? Yeah, it's that. There's a circle of trust, and if you're either in the circle or not, and once you break the trust, their catchphrase is, you're dead to me. For the relator, if you break that bond. But if you don't break that bond, you're not dead to me. You're the opposite. If you're in my inner circle, you're as more alive to me as a person than most other people are alive to me. Your life is an extension of me. All right, I'll stop there. Any thoughts about relators? I put up the little bullet points with it. Feel free to just chime in.
I don't know if this applies, but I will just say it. So I have relator, and sometimes I feel like I struggle giving people grace, and I struggle giving myself grace too. So I don't know, maybe you can help me with that, but I don't know. I feel like I do invest in deep, close relationships, but at the same time, I don't know. I feel like I want closer relationships, but like there's always something holding me back from pushing towards developing them.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah. Well, okay. What you described, I have an idea of what I would have meant if I said those words.
Yeah.
So I think I know what you mean, but because I'm not you saying the words, I don't know exactly what you mean. But I love, no, but by the way, what I just described was all of communication. All of communication is, if you say something, I don't know what you meant by it. I know what I would have meant by it if I said it. That's how most people communicate. It's an interesting thing. All right, but to the more important point, this is a great exploration for you. Why is that? You know, I mean, I could look at your themes and offer some potential, you know, areas to look, like, do they violate some of your beliefs? So when you're feeling distance from somebody and you describe it as can't give them grace, is there something going on that is in the way? And then the value of that is not that the other person needs to adopt your belief, but that you've identified a belief of your own. And that's what I think is important for this belief theme, is people with belief should really get clear. It's not just your religion or whatever. I mean, there's definitely overlap there. But when we talk about your beliefs, what we're really getting at is this inner way you see the world, and it may not just be described or housed in one faith perspective. I've had atheists with high belief, and so their beliefs are around other things, other values or something. So that's a way you can look. Your adaptability, I don't think I'd look there. I think there's other places to look. Even with your connectedness too, there are some potential ways that could play in, but with your relator, I want to say that you don't want to make a bad investment. That's how I see the relator theme. They do not want to make, because they invest so deeply, they don't want to make a bad investment. And something is telling you for some reason that the investment may not be good. And that's what I would explore. That's what I would do with your questions. That make sense?
Yeah, no, for sure. So I just want to expand, just develop more relationships in general.
Exactly. So Presley, I just want to say that may not be, that may take more effort for you, because relator doesn't want to have lots of relationships. It wants to have real deep relationships. Good.
Mhm.
Yeah. Does anybody else want to comment? Ashley? Yeah.
I can relate with Presley a lot. After talking with her, we are more alike than I think we realize. The reason why I keep my circle small, and this may be for you too, Presley, but I've been hurt so much in the past that it is a trust issue. It's something that I learned from being a child, that not everybody's going to like you. And the people that are in my circle, they accept me for who I am. And that's really the number one requirement, is just accepting me for who I am, no matter the day, no matter the mood. Just love me and I'll love you back.
And I think that's a great way to describe the relator code. That's the code. I will accept you completely because that's what I do. But in order to do that, I need to know that it's reciprocated, and reciprocation and themes, all the themes. Look at your number one, and that's what you want reciprocated to you. I want other people to be strategic. I want other people to make the best use of resources. You know, I want people to individualize me the way I individualize them. So often we're starved for the things we contribute. It's just a thing to think about in relation to themes. More of that self-awareness, so we can self-manage, so that we can be aware of others who are in the same boats. All right, so that's relator. So that takes us through all 9 of the relationship themes. Do you want to just jump right into influencing themes, or do you want to say any comments or have any thoughts about it? Was that helpful? Do you want me to do the same thing with the influencing themes? Just like what we did? All right, I want to show you something if I could find, because there's a relationship, I think, between when Gallup talks about the 4 domains. I do think there is something there worth talking about. If I could find, I have a diagram. Yeah, here we go. All right. I showed you this before, but I want to jump back to it. All right. So the 4 domains, I didn't talk about this before, but I did this with this outer ring. Gallup did this. These are the 4 domains. But I just kind of said, well, relating and influencing, that's an outward focus, because you're a person. And if you looked inward, all right, that'd be one thing. But when you're talking to other people, you're looking outward. So that's why I put that there. Thinking and executing, even though executing can involve other people, bless you, it's an inward thing. these are inward things. So I know that's simple, but it's this other thing I want to show you, because I believe that the themes on this side, relating and thinking themes, they are more about creating the potential. Like the relating themes create the potential, and then the influencing themes actualize that potential. So I would activate my relationships, or I would influence people. I would go from relating with them to mobilizing them. And the better I related with them, the more effective I'll be at mobilizing them. There are people that are high in the influencing themes that they don't really build relationships, and so other people feel manipulated by them. Woo can make people feel manipulated, for example, and others in the influencing category. So I wanted to point out that relationship. And the same holds true here. Thinking, because I'm high in the thinking themes. I'm not high in the executing themes. I can use my themes and I can execute, but my thinking themes are about the potential for doing work, and the executing themes are about doing the work. But the better you think about the work, the better the actual doing of the work will go. I use this example. Executing is like climbing a ladder. That's work. Thinking is about making sure the ladder is against the correct wall, so that the work is then more effective. Does that make sense? So, but that's not for today. That'll be for next time. So I'm going to talk about influencing on top of relating. We'll see how far we could get. I'll try to do a sprint, but because I don't know how many influencing things we have here. But the first one we want to talk about is activator, and you can see the image, and it is just that. We have activators with different clients, and one of them, a nursing manager, she cannot sit in meetings. She's fidgeting with things. She's driving people nuts because she wants to get out there in the world. She doesn't want, the best thing we could do is just do stuff. We learn by doing, and we'll figure it out. And they've been doing it their whole life. They get it to work. They do not like to sit still. They want to convert right into getting things going. So that's that theme right there. I'll talk about all of them and we come back to any of them. Command. You see this image? It's like all the signs and there's confusion is what I was trying to convey. And this person just says, nope, we're going that way, everybody. This is what they dropped the hammer is the way to talk about command. It is the rarest of the 34 themes. It's about taking charge and sharing opinion without discomfort. Here's what I think. I'm just putting it out there, and now you know where I stand. It seems like they're being confrontational, but they're not. They're not afraid of confrontation, usually. But it's not about being confrontational. It's about simplifying things and getting to clarity. I'm going to tell you where I'm at, and you quit dancing around too and tell me what you want, and we'll work it out from there. They want you to be the same with them. They don't want you to beat around the bush, and they're not going to beat around the bush. So they voice what needs to be said, and they present the truth, even if it's unpleasant. I have command really high, and I have positivity very low. Command is my number 7 or 8. Activator is my number 7 or 8 too. I can't remember the order. One is 7 and one is 8. These two are very high for me. They're under the hood though. Like I didn't know about them until I got into the full 34. It provides direction in times of confusion. I had enough. Most of the time, because of my strategic, I'm confused. But when my strategic is clear, I can clarify for others where to go. And also clarify through honest encounters and challenging others. Anybody want to say anything about the command? I said I was going to get through the page. All right. Communication. This is another one like empathy. We all empathize. We all communicate. What's the big whoop? Gallup means something very specific about this theme. And the way I say what it means is message sent equals message received. Communication theme is very concerned about that. I want to make sure that what I'm saying lands with you the way I'm saying it, because I know we're two different people. I know there's a good chance you're not hearing me, you're not paying attention to me, so I need to get your attention. I need to keep your attention. I need to tell you the story. I need to make it engaging. My brother, one of my older brothers, he has this as his number 1. So all of what I just said is him. It's about, here it is, and exciting and enticing and interesting, and yeah, all of that. And so that's the important essence of this theme. But if you don't talk a lot, well, and you have the communication theme, what does it mean? It means you're still interested in message sent equals message received. Maybe as a listener, your communication theme is about understanding the other person, especially if you have like empathy or individualization. So communication is a two-way street about message sent equals message received. All right, competition. Oh, competition. I want to win. That's it. That is it. I want to win. And in order to do that, there's something I need to do first. Compare. I would call competition, if I were to give it another name, I would call it comparison. Because that's what they're doing all the time. Who's around me? How are they competing? Who are the other players? Can I beat them? If I could beat them, I love it. I love competing because especially if I win, it gives me the chance to win. And even if it doesn't help me win, it helps me get better. It helps me improve performance. And that competition people, they are very performance conscious. If you have someone with achiever and competition, they are absolutely showing up to play. They are not doinking around. They want to win. They invest effort to perform better. They're willing to work their tails off, actually. They're going to be excruciating on themselves, but it's not going to be beating up on themselves. The way I beat up on myself is not the way people with competition beat up on themselves. They beat up on themselves to get better. They love that stuff. They love the Rocky kind of stuff, the segment of the person in the gym, you know, working out, pumping iron and getting better and being strong and running through Philadelphia and up the stairs and with the statue and the song playing. They love that. You know, they're willing to work their tails off to be good at it. The cyclists are competitors. A lot of them, all of them, every single person who's a cyclist, they're automatically competitive. They want to pass me up when I'm riding on my electric unicycle. And I'm like, you're silly. You don't know what this can do. But they're just nasty. I'm just kidding. All right. But with competition, yeah. And when you can get them to harness it on the team, it's amazing. Like they'll energize the team. All right, last one on this, and then I'll open up for comments. Maximizer. There's an updated version. Oh no, this is the updated version. Yeah. Maximizer is all about the best. It's competition is about winning, but that doesn't mean you're the best of all. It just means you're better than in comparison. Maximizer is I need things to be of the highest quality. It's not even about winning. It's just I need things to be the best. It's just an inner set of standards. And it's a difficult thing because sometimes it's pretty ruthless. It can be when it's about getting to the maximum. They don't have a lot of patience for like handed stuff. So they nurture and refine strengths to turn something good into something great. Gallup really loves using the word strengths with maximizer. So, and that can, I'm not sure if they're meaning the real meaning of strengths or the theme, like whatever. They're interested in the best, high performance. Yes, that's what it means. When Gallup defines strength as consistent and near perfect, that's what a maximizer wants. They avoid groups and situations that require constant problem. They're constantly in deficit. There's constant problems. We can't make progress because we're constantly trying to dig out of a hole. They don't like that. We'll get to restorative, and they're like the opposite in this regard. Maximizers are fascinated by, there's the strengths again. They optimize fit between people and tasks, and they push groups to be at their best. But they have an intuitive sense of, is this at its best? If not, I want to push it forward. So maximizer is a very, very strong personality in the world of themes. Okay, now we're done. Anybody want to talk about any of these? I'll pull up the team grid to see which ones are represented in this chat. We've got a maximizer over here. We've got a little command going on over there. We've got some woo. Oh, we'll talk about woo in a minute. We've got communication and communication. So yeah, anybody want to talk about communication, maximizer, or command?
I had a question about the little graphics that you're using. Is that something that we have access to make those for our teammates? So that's really, really a great graphic, and I keep mine handy all the time. And those pictures really help me understand my themes. Can we create those for people?
You can email me with the person's name and their top 5, and I can create them for you.
Fit to Serve has a document generator account.
Oh, they do? Okay.
They do. And no, let me just say, if not for Bill Dewey, there might not be a document generator.
Oh, yeah, that, duh, I forgot.
Right?
about
No, I know. It's like a little detail, but it was an idea, and Bill and I were talking about it. I'm like, I just need to pay a programmer. It wasn't that much to build just to get it started. And so he's like, well, I would love to use it he was at Concordia then, and they still use it. They're the biggest user of it. They still use it. All the students get it. So yeah, and thank you for saying that about the images, because I've put so much work. There's other things I'm not prepared to show you now, but if Heather can help remember me to show you some of we drew out some really like cool animations that are like cartoon strips of like going through the theme. And I mean, we only did it for about 10 or 12 of the themes because it's so expensive and time intensive, but I'll show you some of them, and they're a blast because it's the visuals that help people connect. That's why we do it. Absolutely. And so, yes, you do. You have access to that account. And not only that, only people associated with Heather likes seeing little youngins. But we're the only ones that produce those images and those reports, because both the images and the descriptions are proprietarily ours, even though Gallup approved them, we created them. So anyway, let's get into anything else about communication or any of the themes, and I'll try to see it if I can talk about any of the other ones for next time, because there's no homework. I'm not doing any homework today. So it's a chance to catch up on any of the other worksheets, or to look through the themes, or to rewatch the videos, or to read the descriptions that Gallup has. So we'll get back into as many of the other influencing ones, but any thoughts on communication, command, or maximizer? All right, we'll go on to the next one then. See, because we only have to cover 3, because I put activator and command in again to recycle, because there's only 8. Unlike the relationship building themes, there's 9. In here, there's 8. And self-assurance is one of them. And it is the second rarest. It's just about as rare as command. So when you see somebody with self-assurance and command in their top 5, they're an interesting critter right away. Self-assurance, I wish I had this. I am plagued with self-doubt. Self-assurance, it's the exact opposite. There isn't any self-doubt. That's why this guy is out in the middle of the ocean with sharks hanging out with him. He ain't bothered by sharks. This is self-assurance. His eyes aren't even there. Look at the eyes. That's self-assurance. I'm not looking inward. I'm looking outward. I'm looking at where I'm going. I got this. I have the confidence in my judgment. Even if they don't have good judgment, decisions, or capability, it doesn't matter. They're confident in it. And they're likely to be comfortable taking risks and mastering challenges. That's what it's about for them. Not me. Too much risk and too much work. I do not relate with self-assurance much at all, but I dig it. I mean, I'm impressed by it. They take the authority. They seize authority. They make the decisions. They may not have authority over you. That's not what it's about. It's about you not having authority over them, because you don't know better than they do. I mean, they wouldn't be offended by me saying this either. They'd probably be nodding. It's not easily, they're not swayed by others easily. They know what they want. And they also embolden others to be the same way. Every theme wants it to be reflexive. So I'm going to be self-assured. You should be self-assured. I don't really want to baby your self-assurance. I want you to be as self-assured as I am. Let's do it. All right. I'll talk through significance and woo too. Significance is one of the hardest for me to wrap my brain around, but my stepdad has it. And that helps me. He's my poster child. And everything it is, he offers help. He tells stories. It's all about, I want to be admired as credible, professional, and successful. It's not pleasant. It's cringy, I know, in our society. So I really feel for people that have the significance theme, because Gallup just basically says, you want to be important in the eyes of others. I mean, that's one of the first things they say. Here, I'm going to the book, going to the Gallup book. You want to be it's the very first sentence. You want to be very, very significant in the eyes of other people. In the truest sense of the word, you want to be recognized. And it was so hard to draw this one. It was the last one we did, but we finally got it. It's this dude who's got a book, he's on stage, hey, everybody, and then there's the applause. That was the best way I could think to illustrate it. I did none of the illustrations. We have an amazing illustrator who worked on our team. So she did that, but needs to be admired. Strives to be unique and above average. This is Don Clifton's #1, the creator of StrengthsFinder. This is his #1 theme. Enjoys working independently because they want to shine. They want to be the one to present. They want to be the one to take the final shot. I think Michael Jordan might have had significance and maximizer. He probably had all 34 in his top 5. And self-assurance. I mean, can you see? He had command, self-assurance, significance, competition. I know that's Michael Jordan. Anyway, wants to be outstanding and noticed by others and thrives on pressure and being in the spotlight. That's the significance thing. All right, we're going to round this out with woo. Woo, winning others over. It's the only one that's an acronym. And this also could be cringeworthy, except it's not, because woos embrace it. They enjoy meeting new people and making connections. They love it. They love a room full of strangers. How do you feel if I were to say, hey, there's a room full of strangers, I want you to go in there and hang out all day? Woos would be like, that is a target-rich environment, I'm in. Relators would be like, I don't know. I have to know if I like them. Are they good? Are they nice? What? You know, yeah. Woo has powerful social presence. They're hard to miss. My phrase when I think of woo, it's weird. My phrase for woo is social vivacity. They're vivacious in a social way. They're great at forming and broadening their social networks. They know a lot of people. People like them. They made impressions on people. Imagine being woo and significance combined. And they put strangers at ease. They're really good at that. They're good at making first impressions. I don't know if that's in here. They're the best. They are the best at making first impressions. I'm the worst at making first impressions. I make worst impressions, not first impressions. So anybody have any comments or thoughts on any of those three? Self-assurance, woo, or significance? Oops, sorry, significance. I didn't mean to leave you out. That really hurts their feelings to not notice them. Any reactions or thoughts on any of the influencing themes?
Did Carrie leave the call? Carrie from our high school is high in woo. She's my favorite wooer. Bold, unabandoned in front of crowds and just like so authentically who she is, and being a flute player. I love that icon so much.
Okay, because there's a Pied, that's meant to be a Pied Piper reference. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's good. So Carrie got a shout out. Woo got a shout out. Good. All right. So the influencing themes, the relationship building themes, it's just really cool to like understand, you know, just the spectrum of what's possible. These are a 9 + 8, 17, half of the 34 patterns for how people think, feel, and behave. Like there's an infinite number of patterns, but Gallup has done the kind of work of seeing which talents cluster together. And then that cluster is called a theme of talent, not a strength, not a theme of strength, not a strength, a theme of talent. And these patterns can be harnessed for good or for bad. Every single one of the themes has a mismatch, or in many ways it could be mismatched. Every one of us could tell stories of how our themes worked against our intentions, but we were beholden to them. We don't know where it came from. It just kicked in. And I'm going to tell you why. It's your personality. Personality is the complex of who you believe yourself to be. It's the complex patterns of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that people know you as. And that is your personality. And sometimes personalities can change, but not really. Patterns are stable. And themes help describe aspects of your personality. Some of them, you have many more aspects beyond StrengthsFinder to your personality. But it's a great beginning. It's a positive way to look at it. It's a wonderful set of things. So let's stop there. Let me hear any feedback, pluses or deltas, or anything you'd like me to do or circle back to for next time. So yeah, this is from you all. I'd like to hear from several of you. All of you. I want to hear from all of you now. Yes.
To bring it back, well, you said that there's a such thing as like toxic positivity. I would say, and this is just personal, and this is nothing against Carrie. I know Carrie, she's wonderful. But like you can have a toxic wooer. Like they can say things that are appeasing to the ear, and you know, they can just really make themselves sound good and not be authentic just to please others. And that can get dangerous too. But I also noticed the first page that you showed of the influencing themes, the maximizer, command, communicator, activator, a lot of those can't, I mean, one of those can't work without the other. It looks like when I was looking at them as you were presenting them, it came to me like command can't really take off without good communication, and maximizer can't really take off without good communication. So they just kind of work together.
Yes. That's why we have all 34. This is a weird way to say, I have all these little weird ways to talk about StrengthsFinder. One of the weird ways is, I don't know if you've ever seen an image of the human skeleture, the human skeletal system, right? Of course you have. But then there's kind of like the overlay, which is the human musculature. And I know you've seen it, Ashley, because you can't be a trainer without them training you on the different muscle groups and looking at it, right? And that musculature, and we all have it. Like I have all, I'm not, maybe not in the form I want them to be, but I have the biceps, the triceps, the whatever ceps, and the this and the that's. We all have them. We have them developed to different degrees. So we all have, so I think of StrengthsFinder as the complete musculature, 34 muscles that are part of the human musculature, inner muscles. And we've just developed them differently. Some of us have really big calves, you know, some of us have really strong shoulders because of how we've been developing our muscles in physical activities. Well, now StrengthsFinder helps us see we're developing muscles internally differently. I've developed this strategic theme to be more than the other ones. I developed includer the least of the other ones.
So to tag on to your muscle analogy there, I was just speaking with someone this morning when we were talking about our wildly important goals. And he was talking about working on his smaller muscles because in younger years, only focusing on the big ones, he caused a lot of injury to his body, which then took years to heal from. And now does not focus on the large, but focuses on the small. And so I just thought conversely of that the damage that can occur if we only work on the muscles that maybe we were born that are already a little more defined or strong, and we only focus there, and the injury that can occur when we don't take time to look at the weaker, smaller muscles.
That's absolutely true. Have I been injured, so to speak, because having includers number 34? I absolutely have. I don't even know the degree, but I know I absolutely know some of the degree, you know. But yeah, so it's really cool. And so this is the talent to strength way of talking about StrengthsFinder. It's more nuanced, it's way more in depth. It introduces a set of language that actually goes beyond the assessment called StrengthsFinder and goes beyond the 34 themes. But it's a beautiful like doorway into the full development of the human potential. That's what this is about to me. And sometimes I think people get too enamored of the StrengthsFinder and the 34 themes, and that becomes the show and the distraction. But what we're talking about now in video number 6, but when we collect all of them together, we're telling a deeper. Do you see how we're telling a deeper story? I say that StrengthsFinder is another way. I'll dismount on this point, and it'll literally be a dismount. You'll see why. A metaphor of StrengthsFinder is the diving board, and then all the rest of this is the pool of human development. That that StrengthsFinder is like the entry point, the diving board, the dismount into the water kind of thing. And so we'll pick it up next time. We will talk about the thinking themes and the executing themes. So hold on tight. Come back next time. We'll do it then. All right. I'll stick around if anybody has any questions, but take off and see you next time.
I do have a question, Adam and Heather.
Good.
It's about my own profile.
Yeah, it's great.
So I took it so long ago with Bill Dewey and got to dig into this last year. I was like, I wonder how it would compare if I did it again. So I did it again, and like obviously drinking the Kool-Aid. So I purchased to get my whole list, right? It was really cool too, because I'm all blue and yellow, 4 blues, 1 gold, right? And so it was cool this second time that I took it, that strategic came into my number 1, which I
cool.
love. 'Cause I am a super strategic thinker, and I often
That's interesting. Well, you didn't have your full 34 before, did you?
that's my question. So I don't know how I logged in with Bill. Like, it was so long ago, it was like an old email, and God only knows what password I used. And I could probably figure out the email, but is there a way that I could get my 34 for the one you guys are using?
Okay, so the one we're using is your like previous
Oh.
set of themes. Okay, so yes, I believe there is a way, and it is you finding out what your old email is. But I think if you reached Gallup customer support, they're really good. They have a good customer support.
Yeah.
I almost always get a follow-up from them. It might take a day or two though. But if you tell, like, they should be able to find you from your name. You're in their database.
Right.
But yeah, and if you even have the email or have some that could expedite it, and then they could probably reset your password, and then you would you'd go into the store and purchase the full 34 and unlock it. That's it. And then you
That's
could,
what I wanted, because I'm like, that's so crazy. So a thinking one come into the first spot. I really feel what we're working from is really like who I am for sure. But I also think about place in life, like changing this position of teaching and personal life. I am very strategic in planning and thinking things through. So I really wanted to see where those other ones kind of landed before, and just the moving parts. I'm intrigued.
so I will say, this is gonna be a weird comment, but I want to put it in here. So my journey over the last couple of years has been realizing StrengthsFinder has been a huge part of this. Realizing that the person I thought I was, the Adam I thought I was, I call it a social construction. It's a bunch of patterns. It's my personalities, my patterns, it's my history. But over the last couple of years, through a series of different things, not things I would have asked for necessarily, but it's kind of dislodged me from that. And I'm looking at myself now. And so I see, I don't even think that I'm the same set of patterns anymore. When I talk about this, I talk about the Adam I used to be, as if, but now, I mean, those patterns are definitely there. They're for sure there. But I now see it more like that. Those patterns are like a puppet called Adam, and that I'm moving more, or at least maybe I'm not moving it, but I'm at least being able to observe it. And that separation, I think, has been really like I think it's a very important part of the human journey, that to not get so locked into this constructive view of ourselves, to stand back and examine it. But you can't really do that till your later years. Anyway.
That aligns with, I also am fascinated with Enneagram and dig into that. And being a 7-9, an enthusiast and a peacemaker, a big part of 9 is often we don't know ourselves because we're just out to please everybody. And a lot of 9 aligns with like the empathy of feeling people's energy and stuff. So I totally get that. And I even referenced today, like a chameleon, I can just kind of, so it's been a lot of work, like finding out who is the real me, who is actually in there. So.
And I will tell you, because I've really delved into the Enneagram, because I want it to work. I'm having a really hard time with it, but I learned something about the history finally. It was never meant to be a personality. The Enneagram is, right? The Enneagram is a model of a complete, we're meant to go through all that cycle. We might start somewhere, but it's not meant to personality type us. And I heard an interview with the guy who was a student of Gurdjieff. Gurdjieff is the guy who brought the Enneagram to the Western world, or nobody really knows where he got it. All right.
Desert priest monks. Yeah.
Right. But this guy, he was South American, he's Chilean, and I can't remember his name. But he said, no, I turned it into a personality test. It was always meant to be a complete model of a human, and you're meant to go through all of it. So that was what they meant by self. And I think the same is with StrengthsFinder. That's one of the reasons I teach the way I do. It's not meant to be like, Anyway, we're going off a little longer than I don't want to keep you, but I love talking about this stuff, if you can't
Me
tell.
too. I appreciate both of you so much. It's so
Ew,
fascinating.
we're really enjoying this. All
And
right,
I'll connect with Gallup. So thank you.
Oh, we've been recording this whole time, Adam.
I know. It's good. I mean, are you all right with it, with that?
Yeah, I don't mess anything up for you guys. That's